how difficult is it to make your own makgeolli?
I'm not gonna get alcohol poisoning, am I?
In the last video, I learned how the making of Korea's oldest alcoholic drink, makgeolli, earned National Intangible Cultural Heritage status. It's a drink of the Korean people, passed down from generation to generation.
Why do Koreans drink makgeolli out of the teapot?
Traditionally, Koreans made it at home until the Japanese colonial government put a stop to the practice during the colonial period.
원래는 우리나라는 집집마다, 한국은 집집마다 가양주, 그러니까 막걸리를 만들어 왔는데 일제강점기 들어오면서 일본에서 그거를 단속을 하기 시작했어요. 아무나 못 만들게 했어요.
Today, it's legal again, and because makgeolli is a drink of the people, I want to learn how to make it myself, as it feels like an important step toward understanding Korea. So I traveled to Chungcheongbuk-do to learn from a true master, Park Chun-mi of Sisonju Brewery.
This is the Sisonju Brewery, and this is where we will meet a master in making a makgeolli. Because my next goal is to make makgeolli myself back in Seoul and try to make the best makgeolli in the world.
I'm not gonna get alcohol poisoning, am I?
But it's just like
Here next to me, and in front of us, a real master.
저는 충청북도 무형문화재 청주 신선주를 빚고 있는 박준미고요. 청주 신선주는 충청북도에서 지금 500년 이상 됐고 이제 제가 19대째 내려온 술이에요. 이 술은 이제 특별한 의미가 있는 게 예전에 이제 저희 윗대 선조께서 충청북도 관차회사 지금의 도지사를 하시면서 이제 여기 자리 잡고서 이제 함양밭이 집선촌이 됐어요. 접빈객들 손님들이 오다 보니까 아주 귀하게 이렇게 약재를 놓고 귀하게 내려서 손님들한테 접대했던 그런 술이에요.
양분은 있군요.
맞습니다. 양말이었습니다.
For an outsider, it sounds very easy. You use only 3 ingredients, but what makes it so difficult then?
저희 같은 경우는 이제 이거 누룩 딱 하나, 물, 쌀, 누룩, 물 3가지 거의 1대1대1 생각하시면 되는데 그렇게 해갖고서 하는 건데 이게 계절에 따라서 날씨가 더울 때도 있고 또 추울 때도 있고 막 그렇잖아요. 계절에 따라서 제가 똑같은 사람이 항상 빚는데도 맛이 조금씩 그 차이가 나요. 집에서는 그냥 뭐 며칠 되면 따뜻한 데 있다 찬 데로 옮겨라 막 이렇게 그 구전으로다만 거의 옛날 전통 방식 그렇잖아요. 근데 굉장히 답답하더라고. 이게 내가 술을 빚는 사람으로서 이 안에서 항아리 안에서 이루어지는 것들이 너무너무 궁금한 거야. 그래서 이제 공부를 조금 하면서 이제 맛을 좀 잡아가기 시작했고 그리고 이제 누룩 띄우는 시기나 그런 거를 일정한 시기에 딱 띄워요 일부러. 어떤 이제 그 변화가 없게끔. 그래서 지금은 거의 맛을 잡은 상태인데도 불구하고 여름술하고 겨울술하고 약간씩 차이가 좀 있습니다. 너무 신기한 게 이제 온도나 마음에 따라서도 많이.
So my mom should be good today.
Your mom should be good.
Well, let's make it. Let's do it.
It sounds easy, right? You mix rice, water, and nuruk, the fermentation starter, in the right proportions. Then you knead it for a while.
아니,
좀 느낌이 어때?
아니 느낌이 전해요.
Put it in a pot and let it ferment for at least a week. Of course, we didn't have time to wait for the fermentation, so Master Park had prepared a batch well in advance. That meant we could jump straight to the straining stage and taste the makgeolli.
야. 건배.
너무 맛있어요.
그죠? 여성들이 만져 여성들 취향.
You taste the alcohol so much better. It's usually what I like about the makgeolli. No, it tastes much stronger.
물을
It's
배로
really good.
섞은 거지.
아, 여기다
You know, I can't lie about the stuff on my channel. This is so much better. I'm mixing nothing with water. Screw that. Water my ass. Why not drink it like this? This is so good.
I swear, guys, the unwatered down makgeolli was so good. It was as if an angel had pissed on my tongue. Seriously. I should be able to do this at home, right? Easy, right?
Right, that was a very good experience. I really enjoyed it. A little bit tipsy even. So now, supposedly I know how to make makgeolli, but it's something we have to find out when we're back in Seoul. Got our own makgeolli making kit, so now it's time to do it ourselves. Right guys, so in order to make makgeolli, I need a few tools. One is a fermentation vessel that I hope to buy here in Shindangdong It's an ongi. I want to go old school, so I want to buy an ongi. The second thing I need is a sulche, something to strain the makgeolli with. And the third thing I need is a collection vessel to collect the fresh makgeolli. Yes, it's Korea. I can buy everything online, everything on coupon. But what's the fun in that? Let the search begin. Let's ask for a sulche first. It's something a bit more old school. I wonder if they still have it in any of these shops. And if they do, I'm going to be so happy. I asked 2 shop owners already for a sulche, and they don't have it. I think my chances are very low today. 혹시 여기 sulche 있나요?
술제 아니요?
네, 그 막걸리 만든 sulche.
그거는 없고 옆집에 물어보세요.
여기 옆에?
네, 옆.
혹시 여기 sulche 있나요? sulche? 네, 막걸리 만든 sulche. 없어요? 혹시 여기 막걸리 만든 sulche 있나요? 없어요? I think we found a sulche. Look at this, guys. I found a sulche. One last sulche left in stock. And I bought it for 18,000won. I couldn't find an ongi. I know, I found one shop. They have ongi. 20 liter was around 10,000won. It feels a bit expensive. It's a really cool place though here in Shindang. But one thing I've learned that it's very hard to buy 1 or 2 items because everything you see here is wholesale. So they don't really want to help you with just one thing. I am so fucking happy. I bought a ongi for 18,000won. Another reason why Domyo Flea Market is one of my favorite places in Korea. I was about to give up, and on my way home I always cycle through Domyo when I come from Shindang, and I suddenly saw a guy selling several ongis, different sizes, and he had one of exactly the size I needed for 18,000won. Imagine I bought the one for 10,000won. The problem though here sometimes is that they don't accept card, nor did he want me to send anything through Kakao. So I had to ask someone on the street to pay for me and send the money to his bank account instead. That's what I did. So a guy from, I think, Uzbekistan or somewhere around that region, he helped me out. So big shout out to him. And now I'm walking around with a heavy ongi in my hand. Let's go home and start making makgeolli. We have the sulche, we have the collection vessel. Look at this beauty. It's time, guys. It is time.
Step 1 is we have to wash the rice.
Okay, at the Sinsunju brewery, we received a makgeolli making kit, and that is this one. So this is the nuruk, very choco. And this is the rice. So 1 kilo rice goes with 100 gram of nuruk, goes with 800 milliliters of water. I don't want to bore you guys with the entire process, so here's the short version. First, we washed the rice extremely well, then cooked it with very little water. Of course, we screwed it up and most of the rice ended up cooking unevenly. Next, we mixed all 3 ingredients together, which turned out to be much harder than expected. The nuruk would have mixed much better if we had soaked it in water beforehand. After that, we let it ferment, stirring it twice a day for the first 2 days before leaving it to rest for a total of 7 days. That's the bare minimum. We decided to ferment ours a little longer. Moment of truth. Oh! The longer you wait, the better the makgeolli gets.
The master said the 100 days is the best.
You think it's still bubbling?
Oh!
Ooh. Alright. And then the makgeolli drops in here. Wow, look at this. Look at the color. Goodbye, see you in 2 days. The makgeolli is ready to drink. My wife prepared 3 different makgeollis. One of them is the one that we made. 2 others are fresh from the Pyeonijum. You think I can guess which one is mine? Number 3 next. Ooh, number 3 is good. Changsu, number 1 Changsu. Number 3, Kuksundang. Wow, Kuksundang is so much better. The last one, well now we know it's mine. This was bad, okay. You see the texture, it's so much thicker. So what happens when people make makgeolli? Right after it's done fermenting, they usually add some water. Now it's time for a few friends of mine to try the makgeolli and see which one they like the best. And if they like it at all.
Okay, everybody, I'm gonna be blind tasting makgeolli. I have never tried homemade makgeolli before. I think I can tell this is Chungsu already, no?
Yeah, that's the Chungcheongbuk-do one.
Oh, nailed it. Wow, that is very sour. That is very sour. You can kind of tell, I think, if it's store-bought to some extent. Wow, that is strong. I think my favorite is still the changsu. It's a taste I'm really familiar with. They're both so sour.
I made both of them.
Okay.
But one is like watered down a bit.
Sourness is so strong. If it had something like, let's say for some reason, like orange infused, something like that, then that acidity can make sense in my head.
Hey, thanks for coming out. First, I want you to guess which one is the makgeolli I made.
Yeah.
And second, I want you to grade it.
Okay.
It's a Saturday morning.
I'm still drunk from last night. Low-key. Yep, very creamy. More milky notes than floral notes, yeah. That's pretty good. This one's got a bit more of a like lemony smell. Bro, I think that's not even like ethanol yet. That's like methanol. Like it's still not fully fermented. I'm gonna guess that one's yours. Oh my god. So this was yours?
Yeah.
Oh bro, that is not it, bro. That is ass. It's not ready. It's not like it's bad makgeolli. It's just not ready yet.
It's not ready yet.
Yeah. Okay, that one tastes like changsu maybe.
I should have let you sign the waiver.
Yeah. That one's changsu maybe.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I got it?
Yeah, you're right.
Not bad. But the second one, bro, why are you feeding me shit? Oh, there's a fourth one? I'm so happy I got one of the brands correct as well. Why are you laughing, bro?
I usually go around neighborhoods and talk about history, not making makgeolli and food poison my friends. I'm so sorry.
That's yours as well, yeah?
So one is watered down.
Oh!
Thank
Is
you.
that the end of the video? That's all you
it.
need? Just me telling you that your alcohol's not ready yet?
That's all I needed.
Yeah, so to summarize, the first one is a solid 8, very creamy, very delicious. Second one is liquid poison, so -3. Third one, changsu, it's a classic, also like 8.3 maybe.
Yeah.
And then the final one, also just liquid death, so -3 again.
The reviews didn't come as a surprise. I agreed the makgeolli tasted anything but good. It was far too sour. But how? We followed the instructions carefully. We even extended the fermentation period. It made me realize just how many things can go wrong. The difference between an okay makgeolli and a truly great one can be determined at any stage of the process. Was it the rice? Did we fail to control the temperature? Or maybe there simply wasn't enough love in it. Then it struck me. Makgeolli making has been passed down from generation to generation for hundreds of years. Grandmothers and grandfathers spent decades perfecting their recipes through trial and error. This was my very first attempt, and I've learned in life that there are no shortcuts to success or perfection. It made me respect makgeolli even more, not just as a drink, but as a living part of Korea's culture. I'll definitely try again and make it better. Maybe you can too, and become a small part of preserving this intangible cultural heritage. Thank you for watching.